I'm Mary Obana. I help people get unstuck. We are all meant to have full joy, pure love, complete fulfillment, and peace. You know what else? Each of us has a light, a unique gift that we are to find and share with the world. It's why we're here. It's who we're meant to be. But sometimes we can get stuck. Join me as I work with Spirit to help people from all walks of life receive the messages they need to hear so they can understand what's standing in the way of all the joy, fulfillment, love, and peace they are meant to have so they can get on with a life they're meant to live so they can shine. Real people, real stories, starting now.
I just know there's more for me to do. What that wasn't clear to me. And that's where Shine came in.
Hello, it's Mary. Thanks for joining me for this episode of Shine. Today, I'd like to introduce you to Jen Harms. It isn't uncommon for our spiritual journeys to be triggered by a life event. You know, it can be after leaving a job or confronting illness, or in this case, an unexpected and devastating end to a 22-year marriage. This is a story of how forgiveness and choosing to rise from the pain and looking for the lessons in our life experiences can lead to finding our light and a return to joy. I hope you enjoy my conversation with Jen Harms. Hi, Jen.
Hi, Mary. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of the Shine podcast. I was so interested in having you on this podcast because I think you have such an amazing and interesting journey that I think a lot of us can learn a ton from. So to start, Jen, why don't you just share with us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I live here in Colorado. I've been here for about 8 years, and I am a small business owner here for the past 6 years or so. I am a giant skier, mountain biker, hiker, so I really have found my forever home out here in Colorado. But before that, I lived in lots of different places, including Florida, Aruba for 15 years, New England, California, but I'm settled for good here in Colorado.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. You've definitely had your ocean and your mountain and your slopes.
Yes. And I'm very lucky that my daughter, I have 2 adult children. My daughter is out here in Colorado with me. My son is in Florida, but we're very close and we stay in touch.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So why don't you just dive in and please share with us where your journey all began?
So why am I on this podcast today? So, so basically, in 2007, my 22-year marriage ended with my husband asking me for a divorce. And it was really kind of a very big surprise for me. I was not expecting it. And it was that kind of situation that a lot of my friends said, you should be on Jerry Springer. This isn't a normal, divorce. I don't love you anymore divorce. There was a lot of things in there involving a lot of betrayal and hurt and anger and, things that hurt myself and my 2 kids a lot. So needless to say, I was plunged into a really big depression. I was so depressed, I wasn't even angry. I was just very, very sad. And I would say almost suicidal at times. I did go into therapy right away. I did get help. But honestly, for that first year, it was quite the blur. I don't recall a whole lot about it, except, the fact that I did get up and get my kids to school every day. I did walk the dog every day, well, twice a day. But that was really the only thing that kind of got me out of my sadness and depression.
Yeah, because this was a one of those things where, it just made you look back at all those years you spent together. And I know that must have been just like, what was all of that, you know? I know that was a big part of the shock, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Truly, for the majority of the 22 years, it turned out a lot of it was not genuine. And to realize that, to look back on your marriage and know that it wasn't real, and that many other people were aware that it wasn't real, at least on his side, was really hard. I mean, it just gives it, you take a huge hit as a person, and your self-confidence and your ability to, well, to be confident in your ability to read relationships and people just
Yeah.
went away 100%. And so what do you do in that case? You think, oh my gosh,
Can I
this
not
was,
trust anybody? Can I not trust?
yeah,
Yeah, right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it was tough. And that first year was rough. Um, but after a year of, laying on the couch, trying to escape via whatever, reading or games or whatever you were doing to not think about it.
Distract yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. It was basically, you get up, get the kids out, walk the dog, and then you go distract yourself from the pain, because the pain was so immense
Yeah.
that it was really hard to deal with. So at that point, I had been looking into remedies for depression, because I considered myself very depressed. I didn't even eat for months, and
Oh,
lost a ton of weight, and it was just a bad situation. So I'm like, okay, I can't continue this way. I have to do something. So I started reading every self-help book out there for starting your life over, dealing with betrayal, dealing with depression, dealing with, you name it, I read it.
yeah.
And also exercise really helped, because, those endorphins are awesome, and it helped me reach a point where I could see that this was an experience that I could grow from. And
How long? Wait a second. So wait, how did you get there? I mean, you know, that's something, to go from where you were to being able to look at it with that lens. That's, I think, just remarkable. And that was just purely by doing all this reading. And I mean,
yeah, pretty much. When you're reading I was reading like Abraham Hicks, and I watched the movie The Secret, which initially I hated, because I'm like, I didn't bring this on myself. It wasn't my fault.
right,
and,
right.
and so I'm like, this isn't working for me. But, once you start down that road of a spiritual journey, you get taken many different places, and you start seeing different thought processes, and you start believing different things about yourself, and what is true and what isn't true. And not only about yourself, but your partner, right, that betrayed
Yeah.
you. And ultimately, I had to come to the point where I'm like, this isn't serving me anymore.
Yeah.
I am not doing anything that's good for myself. And in order to, and for a while, I would think things like, well, the best form of revenge is to succeed yourself, right? And you have to kind of work through all those different phases of
Anger, right?
feelings.
And
Anger,
yeah.
yeah. Well, it's like,
And fear, and
they
yeah.
talk about stepping up a level, with regards to reaching for the next best feeling,
Right.
and going from depression to anger, or, whatever you need to do. And that really helped me get a better grip on myself.
Yeah, so let's talk about that for a second, because this
Sure.
idea, so this idea that reaching for the next best thought, right, gives you
Yeah.
a sense of control, right? So when you're in the sense of just despair and hopelessness, reaching for anger is better, right? Is
Yeah,
that what?
it
Yeah.
is. It is. And it's a step up from just being a blob on the couch all depressed, right? You're
Right.
at least angry. You're at least feeling something.
Right.
And honestly, that was huge for me, just to be able to feel something again, and to
Yeah.
direct my thoughts in a positive direction. That was huge. So in order to move forward, I decided I need to, take control and choose to start making a life for myself. I had to start over 100%. At the time, my kids were young and younger, high school and middle school. I apologize to you guys for not being there that whole year. But they were a great help for me too.
Yeah.
Because they needed help. They were going through it just as much as I was. And so I found focusing on helping them. And then I really got heavily into volunteering, and, focusing on others made a big difference for me. So
Yeah.
helping was always
A
a
remedy for
healing.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was the remedy for me
And I
to
know,
feel better about myself.
and I know too, this was a shift in many ways, because not only this idea of emerging from this, but your lives were really intertwined. You had a business together, you had,
Yes.
and it was one too where I remember you saying that, he basically took care of everything. So suddenly you're kind of launched into this kind of independence, right? In some ways. And that alone has its own transition, I would imagine.
Well, yeah. All of a sudden, I had to be assertive with the divorce. I had to fight for what was rightfully mine. I had to fight for my kids and their feelings. It was a lot, and all of a sudden I'm thinking, okay, now I really need to find a source of income. So there was a lot that I had to do to reach a point where I felt like I could actually take control of my future.
Right.
And I had never even thought of things like vision boards, and all that stuff was new to me. And so as I'm sitting in my little office in Florida, I'm thinking to myself, where do I want to be? And I started thinking, envisioning, and finally seeing some possibilities. And that was what really motivated me to move forward. I did a vision board. I had some very dear friends that lived out here in Colorado and had visited a few times. And I said to myself, that's where I want to live. I love that place and I have friends there,
Yeah.
and I'm going to go there. So I did a vision board with Colorado on there and the city I live in. And it was wonderful because things started falling into place to get me there.
Right.
And in the end, I ended up being able to get the kids through high school and off on their own. And I packed up my car, sold my house, and drove the U-Haul to Colorado.
How did you work through the forgiveness part of it?
You know, that was a real tough one for me.
Yeah.
I think it's tough for pretty much everybody in a situation like that, but it was the key, right? And not the kind of forgiveness where we feel we were wronged and that we are better for having forgiven the wrong person.
Yeah.
That's not the kind of forgiveness that I needed to have. I needed the forgiveness that came with the understanding that this life experience is an opportunity for growth and a pathway towards something much better.
Yeah.
And that is how, through all the reading and soul searching and meditation, believe me, I meditated half an hour a day
Yeah.
to reach this point where I could see, okay, I have a choice. And my choice has got to be to forgive, because if I'm going to be angry all the time, that doesn't serve me. And I had to view this experience as a vehicle for growth.
Yeah. Wow. That's, I think, one of those things that forgiveness is. I think there is a sense that forgiveness means you're letting that person off the hook, quote unquote. I've heard people say that, or
Yeah,
you're,
yeah,
you're making it okay. And that's not what forgiveness is, right? Forgiveness is about the work you do for yourself, because, right, all the anger you're feeling is like, who
absolutely.
is that serving? Is that,
Exactly.
yeah.
Forgiveness, it's not about, being the better person because I can forgive this terrible thing he did. It's about forgiving this situation and seeing it in a different light. you have to open yourself up to the fact that, okay, well, maybe this happened because I'm supposed to be in a different place or in a different situation. And maybe this experience is going to help me in other ways. And I have to say now I'm in a town I love, in a state I love, with wonderful friends, and I'm in a much, much better place than I was back when I was married. The marriage wasn't perfect, and obviously he was hiding a lot, and it was very stressful. And I think back to then and now, and I'm like, oh, I am so filled with joy and light, and my life is so much better now.
Right.
It's different. Yeah. It's very different, very, very different. And I never in a million years would have seen myself as the owner of a successful small business. I'm still unmarried, but that's okay. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
I have accepted responsibility for my life and where I'm going. It's been a journey.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. It's amazing to me how, when you hear folks who go through these experiences, and when you go through them, you just cannot believe they're happening to you. And then you move forward and you see that where you are now is a place you wouldn't have been had you not been, I don't know,
pushed
through that, right?
Push through that because I really did not feel I went through it voluntarily.
Right, exactly. Yes.
I kind of had to run the gauntlet there, and it wasn't something I would wish
I chose
on anybody.
Yeah.
But sometimes life, universe, whatever you want to call it, and I think this is a really good segue to Shine. And how Shine has, can offer people that alternate viewpoint.
Yeah, so tell me about that, because you had been on this beautiful spiritual journey, and I know that then you read Shine, and how did that shift things for you? Because you had already done so much on the spiritual side of things,
Yeah. As well, this whole year has been bizarre with COVID and all the economic stuff going on. And so in my work, there was an awful lot of anxiety and fear, and, your family, a lot of anxiety and fear with regards to everything going on. And you kind of get wrapped up in that. And I don't care how spiritual you are, there's always going to be stuff that gets in the way of your journey, and it's stuff that you're going to focus on more, and you'll forget that, oh yeah, I should be meditating. I should be
little reminders.
To spirit. I should be doing, and so Shine was really very timely, and it was a real big in my face reminder that I'm meant to do more than just run this business and be a good mom and a friend to people. I've always felt there's something more for me to do, and I haven't done anything about it, right? The past few years have been really immersed in building the business and helping my kids, get their lives going. And I really stopped for a while focusing on my own growth.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have this, this, I don't know, sense of that there's something more. Tell me what that felt like for you. Was that like those nudges, or what did that feel like for you? Is that something you always had felt, or something that you just were reminded of after you read Shine? Tell me about that.
Well, I've felt it, I think, for the past 10 years or so, that, once you start searching, you start searching, right? And I had decided, okay, I'm going to succeed here. I'm going to move to Colorado. I'm going to get a business. I'm going to, and I did all that, right? Okay. A couple of years ago, I'm okay. I've managed to accomplished what I set out to do. And now what? That's kind of was the big thing for me. Well, now what? Now what? And
Right.
so I'm not content where I'm at right now because I just know there's more for me to do. What that wasn't clear to me.
Right.
And things were, like I said, so busy at work and so on. I wasn't making the effort to figure it out. And that's where Shine came in. And it, as Peter said in the book, we get caught up in our busyness and don't put in the time for allowing and listening. And it really was a great reminder that, we have to make that choice to feel good and listen.
Yeah. And you're meant to live in joy. You're meant to live in.
And
yeah.
we're meant, exactly. And I wasn't. So that was so wonderful when I read the book. I'm like, okay, this is great. Things happen, like divine timing is awesome. And it does happen in its own time. And I tend to get impatient and
we all do, right? Yeah.
And judge myself. Why aren't you doing more? But it's like, I think it's time. And I think the showing up of Shine really helped me see that.
And then I know you kind of had said, but what is that thing? And I know that I had just started doing some readings. You're like, hey, let's do it. Let's see what it is that I'm supposed to know.
Yeah.
And so I've got I have some notes from and the words and message that you received through that reading. So I'm going to, with your permission, share it with the listeners, just some of it.
Absolutely.
So we connected, and now remind me, Jen, had you actually ever had a reading before this?
No, not really. No. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So we got together and connected on the phone and said, okay, let's see what we got. Let's see what messages are kind of really there for you. What is it that you need to know in this moment? And connected immediately to your guide. We all have guides, and you connected to your guide, Jean. And this is a bit of what Jean shared in that reading. So Jean said, Jen has a beautiful light within her. Her light shines brightly when she gives. She has been through a lot, and these experiences have given her great lessons. She has felt betrayal. She has felt such pain. There are others too who feel this way, but who are stuck in the pain still. Her experience is not without purpose. Her pain is not without joy. Her pain can help others find joy. People feel very alone with this pain. No one understands it. Jen understands it. She has a way about her, an honesty about her. She will find great fulfillment in this work she is to do, fulfillment that she has never felt before. Her light is one of giving, one of helping, one of comforting. She can apply that light to her experiences. This is what makes her so unique. She knows firsthand what this feels like, what this pain feels like, what this isolation feels like, what this loneliness feels like, what this betrayal feels like, what this hurt feels like, what it feels like to go through this while also trying to be who she must be for her children. Jen is now able to do the work on herself and emerge with great joy and fulfillment. This is her work. So much love she can give, so much relief she can provide, so much understanding she can share, so much love. And then Jean went on to say, my name is Jean. I will help you, Jen. My work is to work with you to spread this love, to relieve this pain, and to make the world brighter in a way only you can.
So mind blown.
Yeah. So what that was like, tell me what that, and share with the, listeners, what that was like and what that opened up for you.
So I knew I had kind of half-heartedly started a blog. I thought about writing a book. I had thought, Jerry Springer material here, and I had
you had some material to work with.
Yeah, exactly. And then life kind of got in the way. I had even gone so far as to join a Toastmasters, um, to hone up my speaking skills. And I'm still not at a point right now where I've really, figured. Gene and I are still working out the details on how I'm going to shine my light. But I feel very, very strongly that my work is to help people get through the pain they're in. I mean, I know I was there, and it's so hard to
Yeah.
see past the pain and to see that you can find joy again.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that because of your experiences, and this is the thing that continues to emerge, is that we go through these life experiences with such, in this case, such crazy betrayal and deception, and like, what has happened, and how could this possibly be happening to me? And then you learn that not in spite of that experience, but because of it, you are
Yes.
led to something that you uniquely can do.
Well, exactly. And think about it too. Coming out of an experience like that, you feel about, a millimeter high. Your confidence is gone, your any kind of self-love is gone. You don't think you're capable of doing anything. So how can you possibly recover, right?
Right.
When you have absolutely no feeling of self-worth at all.
Yeah.
And getting past that is such an experience of joy, and it's such a, an adventure,
Yeah.
because you're really giving birth to a new you, right? You're completely different once you come out the other end. And it's so wonderful to see how that change can affect you, your family, everybody around you.
Right.
And the fact that you can give hope to people that are kind of in that dark tunnel, to let them know, yes, you will get through this, and you will find a better life than what you thought was a pretty good life before this whole thing happened. I think
Yeah.
is something that I would love to share with people.
Yeah. I have this great quote from Walter Anderson, and he was a artist and a writer, and he said something that struck me with your story, because it kind of just reminds us all that we do have choice. So let me just share it right
Sure.
now. It says, um, he goes on to say, he goes, "I am responsible. Although I may not be able to prevent the worst from happening, I am responsible for my attitude toward the inevitable misfortunes that darken life. Bad things do happen. How I respond to them defines my character and the quality of my life. I can choose to sit in perpetual sadness, immobilized by the gravity of my loss, or I can choose to rise from the pain and treasure the most precious gift I have, life itself."
I think my work is going to be to help people come to the realization that they can make a choice. When you're in that terrible, terrible place of depression and anger and fear, you feel like you don't have a choice, right? That's
Yeah.
why people commit suicide. They don't think they have a choice, right?
Right.
And so you have to help them get to the place where they feel they can choose to
Yeah.
find joy again. And forgiveness is the key.
Yeah.
And I think it is a journey, and everybody's going to take a different one. But I'm really hoping that I can help some people reach that point where they can choose love and choose joy again.
Yeah. And I think you're certainly testament to somebody who has experienced such great sadness and loss, and yet you have made a choice to find that joy, and you have acted on that choice, and I think about you in that year where you were just spinning, which
Oh, yeah.
understandably so, and then where you are now. And that's, I think, such a hopeful message. And I hear you always saying, like, you love your life, and
I do.
now
I
have
do.
found this way to use these experiences to help others heal, you know
I would love nothing more in the world than to do that. I think, of course, divine timing, and I'm trying to figure it all out, but
Right.
I I know I'm living proof that you can really be a hair's breadth away from suicide, and then make a choice to not go down that road, and then see what evolves from the journey that you have to take to get through to the other side. And it
Yeah.
is beautiful. It's beautiful.
Thank you, Jen, so much for sharing your story with us. And I'm so delighted that you found your light, because I know a lot of people are going to benefit from your shine. If you or someone you know is in crisis, please call the toll-free Lifeline at 800-273-TALK. That's 800-273-TALK. You do have a choice. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining for this episode of the Shine Podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Be kind and shine. Take it easy.